we start to think about gaining muscle and gains and all of those things and how we can eat to support that. And the immediate conception is that like, well, I'll just turn into like a muscly bodybuilder. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. There's a lot of steps between getting a learner's permit and being a race car driver. Like there's a ton of steps in between there. And when we eat to support our muscle, we are not entering in NASCAR. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
I'm Rachael.
Hi, Rachael.
Hey. I wanted to tell you this funny thing. Now, look at this. Look at this. All right, I'm out here doing my best.
Look at what?
Well, I just noticed that I had set up on my bad side. Fuck.
You're the only one who knew what you were talking about.
That's okay. That's typical. Listen, it's a known thing. Everybody knows this, except I only knew it when I Googled it. That everyone has like a preferred side of their face. Oh, well, also what led me to this was that I didn't do it because I wanted to have a good day, but that filter that does both sides of your face, have you seen it?
No.
It separates your face down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes both sides of your face and then it gives you one side of your face doubled so that they're exactly the same. And you look totally different because no one's face is symmetrical. Like it doesn't your two sides of your face aren't the same. So when it like transposes it and it makes it look the same, you look like a freaking weird alien. No, this is the thing. You should do it, or not if you want to have a good day.
I probably just want to have a good day.
Yeah, I didn't do it either. But the reason why I looked this up was because I was like, oh my God, one side of my face is really like when you turn on the selfie camera, you're always like, oh my God, what's the matter with that side? And then I was like, oh, I guess I just must be weird. But no, I'm not weird. Everybody has like an asymmetrical face, and not only that, but prefers the one side. So it's unfortunate because I did some filming with the content team, which I rarely do, and I really try to avoid it at all costs, if I'm being honest. Sorry, Isley. But like I don't know why, but it was like I was like a stand-in, like I had to fill in for you or something. And I was like watching the video they just put up, and I was like, oh, come on, that's my bad side. Like people who know me don't film that side.
You stay out of there. You stay off that side and you stay on my good side.
Shoot, to the other, not over there, over there. And then every time I caught you, I see you trying to exercise the
It's my lazy side.
Well, there's one side that's more expressive.
Yeah, it's a bias, and one side of your face is definitely more expressive, and people generally like their more expressive side. And my left side is my more expressive side. So there's also another one where people are doing that, like you take a picture of one side of your face and the other side, and the other, like you have an evil side of your face, like you smile and you take one side of your smile and it looks like a happy smile and the other one looks like a really evil smile. And I've seen a couple people do it and been like, oh my God. Because it's like really accurate. Like I don't know why it looks like devious, but it looks devious. Like one is just like, yeah, it's a half happy smile, and the other one is like, what are you plotting?
This is what I'm trying to say. They're filming my freaking evil side, and I'm like, this is how I want to come off, guys.
I feel like this is just like my tired side.
Well, that's the thing. I think it probably looks evil because it's actually just lazy. Because there's the one side that's like interacting with the world, and then there's the other side that's like, I stayed home. I'm in bed.
You know what? It's fitting. It's fitting for, how we feel on a day-to-day basis.
Well, so I know that this is overthinking, but this is what I do. So what I do is it's like it's that they said typically it's the side that you sleep on. That's the lazy side if you're a side sleeper. So like
Mm.
obviously you're just smushing it all night. And then it's like, kind of like when we talk about lazy glutes and like the fact that people have a hard time firing their glutes when they sit for a significant portion of the day. It's
Yeah.
the same thing with your face. His side won't fire because it's just being smushed for 8 hours a night. So I tried sleeping on my back, which is extremely difficult for me because that's not my life. And my husband told me immediately that I needed to stop because I looked like a corpse.
Also, also, here's the thing. Rachel is a mouth breather.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
She sleeps with her mouth open. And
That's
it's real, like, not just like it's a little crack, just like it's a full window open.
I got
It's
these lips.
it's a lot. Like, as I've gone out into the rest of the world. Okay, so you grow up with one person, right? Everyone with siblings knows this. If you just have like one sibling, or I happen to have two, but I shared a room with Rachel growing up. So I have seen her sleep since I was born. So I didn't know if like everyone slept with their mouth open like
They don't?
but I've realized now that that's just not true. That was an aggressive mouth open sleeping. Like some people have a little crack, snorers, they get a little bit more. But the weird part about it is that she's not a snorer, so she's not like making noise. It's just like open.
Just a drooler. Well, when I noticed when I when I sleep on my side, which is my natural way to sleep. You wake up and you drool puddle on your pillow. Now but when I sleep on my back, it's like my face.
It's just like a faucet.
I've got
Why do you have that
drool on my
much
neck.
drool?
Well, because I'm not closing my mouth.
It should be dry. Doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. I
Okay.
want to pose the question to the rest of our listeners, though. Like, are you guys side sleepers, belly sleepers, or back sleepers? I personally am definitely dead in a coffin. Like, sometimes my hands are across.
That's not acceptable.
It's definitely, and my mouth is closed, my eyes, and I don't move. So it definitely, like, I teeter between, like, is she dead or is she a vampire? Like, we're not sure,
I don't
but like,
remember this about you, but you were always on the top bunk,
yeah, yeah.
so
Listen,
I couldn't see you much, but I don't remember you sleeping like that.
most of the time I just sleep on my back. Yeah, I'm
Mom
like,
mom
if I
sleeps
go
like
to
that
one
too.
side, it's definitely this lazy side, but I'm a back sleeper for sure. I mean, I
Oh,
could have changed in my
God.
old age too, because like now I got to put pillows underneath my knees. Just prop myself up real
That
nice.
ergonomical coffin position.
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're
That's
doing here today.
that's what we're doing here today. And here's the thing. You got to be here for it, or just off you go,
Off you go.
because I'm in a mood. But I am excited because, well, I'm excited for you because I know that you're very fired up about this episode because it's something that you feel extremely strong about, and you've done a ton of personal research on this, and it's been a very large part of your life for a long time. On the other hand, I eat like a trash can. So we're just putting that out there. I have delved into this mentality from time to time in my like different courses of where I've been in my training, but you are so well versed on this, and I'm excited to let you share what you have learned with the world. And what we're talking about today, guys, is eating for gains. So basically, if you want to maintain muscle mass, grow your muscle mass, if you want to speed up your metabolism through having more muscle mass, this is going to be how to eat to maximize that, because there is only so far that the gym is going to get you before you are going to stall out on a nutritional basis if you are lacking in certain areas. So we really wanted to take the opportunity to talk about this because, you know, you might not think that this is for you. Like when people hear like eating for gains, they automatically think of, you know, a smaller athlete or a person with very little body fat or whatever, but that is not the case. I want to bust that up today. Everybody should be eating for gains, because the more muscle that you are maintaining, the the better off everything in your body is going to work, and the more that you can actually eat without having trouble with gaining too much fat for your body. So I just really want to punch home that this episode is definitely for everyone, and give us a chance. If you think like, I don't know if I'm should be eating for gains here, like give it a chance, because you should be.
I'm really glad you prefaced it with that because I think a lot of people, as soon as you start talking about eating for gains, they have this mindset that like it's that video. Like as soon as you like pick up a dumbbell, that you like turn into a jacked bodybuilder. And when you hear eating for gains, you think that's what's going to happen. And the reality is that's actually not what's going to happen. Gaining muscle can be incredibly difficult for a lot of people. It is never that simple, and there is never a circumstance where overnight or in a month or in 2 months or whatever, you gain an incredible amount of muscle at that rate that you think you are. And these words have been thrown around like bulky, and I don't even want to entertain them because they're so far from the truth, and they're only there to deter you from your goals and actually what health is. And when Rachel talked about, having more muscle and that just being better for your overall health, listen, your muscle supports everything in your body. So if you have knee pain, for example, there is a lot of things that are always going on with people, whether it's an injury, whether it's just overuse, whether it's, impact. But usually, when you're having a lot of knee pain, whether it came from an injury but has lasted all over time, it's continuous impact without appropriate muscle to support your body weight is actually what's causing a lot of that pain. Same thing with like back injuries, everything that's going on with your body. Like the muscle is there to protect and support you. So if you're not supported and you're not protected in your everyday life, of course we're going to be, experiencing some more pain in some different ways, or just not able to do some of the things that we want to do. And then you get into like bone density, just general health. So it's just a weird thing that this has been really targeted at women, that we start to think about gaining muscle and gains and all of those things and how we can eat to support that. And the immediate conception is that like, well, I'll just turn into like a muscly bodybuilder. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. There's a lot of steps between getting a learner's permit and being a race car driver. Like there's a ton of steps in between there. And when we eat to support our muscle, we are not entering in NASCAR.
That would be such a cool concept if, everybody started getting behind the idea that joint pain was was a result or could be potentially solved by gaining muscle. Imagine if you went to your doctor with knee pain, lower back pain, shoulder pain, and your doctor's prescription was that you needed to take a half day from work and go ahead and get some rehab in and build up that muscle, the surrounding muscles. Like that's the world I want to live in. I'll tell you what. just saying.
I'm saying, and I think that when we start to talk about muscle and we start to talk about um, muscle growth, immediately the conversation goes to what are you doing in the gym? Because that's where we really think muscle growth happens. But the reality is that's where muscle breakdown happens. Muscle growth happens when you're not in the gym. So we break things down to build them back up. And that's the general rule here. If we can simplify it to that basics is that when we're there, when we're lifting, when we're breaking down, we are breaking it down to then build it up further. But the buildup happens when you are recovering, when you're sleeping, and when you are eating. So let's talk about eating. Can you build muscle when you are in a caloric deficit? You cannot. You need to be in a caloric surplus to build muscle. Now, what I want to pause on that for, because I know like we don't talk a lot about calories in all of our episodes, we really don't have a focus on that. And there's a reason for that. And I want to make sure that's very clear as we talk about being in a caloric surplus. And when we talk about building muscle, is that nutrients is still the most important thing when it comes to building muscle, because even if you're in a caloric surplus, your body is looking at the nutrients that it's gaining, right? So it's looking at, where am I getting my core nutrients? Where am I getting what I need to grow, and getting the basics done? So like the basics are like, brain function, just like everyday functions. Like it's not looking at building additional things until your basic needs are met, right? So like that's just right on the bottom line there. And our basic needs are met not only from calories. And I like to talk to people about, like, you are a giant house plant. And if you want your houseplant to start growing some beautiful flowers, and you just like throw candy canes in there, like, is it going to grow beautiful flowers? It No, it's not. It needs its nutrients, right? So it needs like water, it needs sunshine, it needs like, whatever shit you're putting in the dirt make it grow. But
Kelsea
like,
has a lot of fake plants,
I
so
have a lot of fake
maybe
plants.
don't ask her about that aspect of it.
No. No, but I know that I can't feed it candy canes. And a lot of people are going like, well, I'm feeding it stuff, right? I'm putting stuff in there. Okay, but you're not putting the right stuff in there. And that's why we have to talk about actually what we are feeding our bodies when it comes to building muscle, and what the building blocks of muscle are. And that's when, as soon as you say the building blocks of muscle, everyone goes like, I know the answer to this: protein. And you are right. I mean, protein, carbs, fats are like all necessary and all very important at different aspects of your training. So I don't want to minimize the importance of carbohydrates in your post workout, pre, even. Like, I don't want to minimize that, but we are going to talk specifically about protein because, number one, it's a building block and it's super important to your overall fuel if you are hoping to gain muscle.
Well, I think that it's, this is where an understanding, a basic understanding, because you don't need this unbelievable scientific, like people think like they don't know what to eat unless they understand like the specific science behind every nutrient. And that's just not it. If you have a basic understanding of the macronutrients, you can understand that each of them serve a unique and important purpose. When you're talking about the going in the gym to break down the muscle, carbs are a great macronutrient for that job, right? You need to be able to go in fueled, and you need to be able to go in sharp, and you need to be able to go in with enough energy to do the kind of damage to your muscles that you want to do. You want to break them down, right? So you can't go in there on an empty tank, which carbs provide you that fuel so that you're sharp, so that you have lasting energy, so that you can, do the things in the gym that you want to do. And that's why, when we look at these plans that cut out specific macronutrients and call them the enemy, right? It's like, okay, but here's the thing, that had a purpose, and whatever it was, you've now eliminated. And like Kelsea, Kelsey's going to talk about the quality of macronutrients is everything. Obviously, the carbs from candy canes are not going to be superior to the carbs from a sweet potato or broccoli or something. We need to talk about quality first, but proteins specific job in the repair of your muscles is why we're going to talk about it in this episode most heavily, because when you're talking about eating for gains, that's the macronutrient that you need to talk about, that and amino acids.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to know as we talk about protein too, like protein is one of those macronutrients. I mean, when you have a good amount of protein, you stay fuller for longer, and there's a reason for that because like you're able to sustain longer. It's a little bit of a slower digestion process, so that's why you're also staying fuller for longer, but you're getting what your body needs. So if you're the type of person who like starts your day, so like you're in a good gym routine, right? But like you start your day with something like cereal or a muffin or things like that are not protein heavy at all, that are not providing a good source of protein to start your day, and you find that you feel just like famished throughout the day, there's a reason for that. So your energy expenditure, and as you're looking to repair your muscles that you may be broken down during the week, they're looking for that source. They're calling for it. They're really calling for more protein, and it calls to your body and says like, give me more. And you keep giving it the thing that it's not, that doesn't want really. You're like, okay, I'm going to have a muffin, or I'm going to have these other things. And like, at the same time, like it's not looking for that. It's broken down. It needs protein to repair, and you're giving it different things. So it's kind of a no wonder why you're constantly hungry and constantly looking for different snacks, and you're like, okay, but like I started lifting weights and I just cannot stop eating. But it's like, hold on, let's pause there for a second. What are we eating, and is it making you feel full and sustained throughout? Like, and I'm not saying you have a breakfast and that's throughout the day. No, 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 don't get me wrong at all. I'm saying we got to look for that good, so like protein source specifically in the beginning of the day, as you are playing with some of your gym routines and looking to build up some muscle. The other thing that I want to talk about when we are talking about muscle, metabolism, calorie consumption, body fat, all of these things. Let's be real clear about this for a second. The idea that we need to consume the least amount of calories possible to obtain some type of aesthetic that we're looking for, that's really what's been pushed on us. And I think that when we just break it down, I know we've done this in some episodes, but I really want to be very clear about this. When we're looking to do that, and we do not have the ability to build muscle during those times, it's a race to the bottom, because we know exactly what muscle does for the rest of our body, right? It increases the speed of your metabolism, so the demands are a little bit higher, but it's working much harder, so you're pushing up that metabolism. The more muscle that you have on your body, the more likely you are to maintain a lower body fat percentage. Okay, because you're eating to fuel those muscles. So when we're in this like race to the bottom with like the lowest amount of calories and we're not building any muscle, like it is really just a race to the bottom, because like where are you at a maintain?
Well, that's so much of the problem when we see, people starting a new fitness routine, or uneducated trainers who are setting these, low calorie counts and this
Arbitrary
very
calorie counts.
arbitrary, first of all, completely not customized. And half the time they are not coming with nutrient requirements in the form of macros. So it's like, just 1,200 calories of whatever, which I mean, like I can't even begin on that. But like the thing that I think that is really the biggest misconception, and the thing that people keep getting stuck on, is they start and they're eating this, really low calorie diet, and they've upped their exercise tremendously. Maybe they're coming from, very little, or the couch, or, just like walking, and they're trying to get in the gym and lift and do more high intensity kinds of workouts. And simultaneously they've lowered their calories, and at a certain point they stop seeing progress. And the answer always from these uneducated people is, well, then lower it now. Well, okay, yep, well, we got to lower it again.
Good. Get back in the race to the bottom.
How many times? Oh, is the goal to be at zero? Like, you need to consider the fact that in a race to the bottom, there is going to be a place where you can no longer lower it and function. And is that the goal? Is it to get to to find the place where you can no longer get out of bed and get to the gym because your calories are so low? Like, that isn't the answer. It's never been the answer. And if you have been suggested by a health professional or any kind of fitness professional to just continuously lower your calories once you hit a plateau, you need to throw them out the window.
Throw them out the window, run in the opposite direction. They just don't know what they're talking about. And they could just be, ignorant, but then stop advising people. But it is your job to make sure that you are listening to those that align with you and make sure you are continuously talking about health. And if something doesn't sound like health to you, then you can really start to question that, because even when we're talking about, I know, obviously when we're talking about weight, when we're talking about calories, even when we're talking about body fat, like but living a healthy lifestyle is going to look different for everyone, and you're going to need to define that for yourself. But the other things, body fat percentage and sometimes weight, those are byproducts of what you're actually doing. So if you are setting a sole goal for weight loss or a body fat percentage, I really just want you to just look at that and maybe reevaluate a little bit, because even if that's part of what you would like to see for yourself, realize that it's going to be a byproduct of health for you. And that's going to look very different, because looking at somebody else's body fat percentage and saying I'd like to have that, number one, it's not realistic because you're not living in their body. You don't have the same genetics. It's just not it. There's so many reasons it's just not it. But the fact is that when you get to a healthy, body composition, healthy weight for you, all of those other things, they're just a byproduct of what you're doing to live a healthy lifestyle.
I'm so glad you said that. I've been seeing, it's small, but it's a movement. I've been seeing a small movement of fitness influencers who are showing videos of them at a very low body fat percentage or a very low weight on the scale, or whatever, being the cardio queen and being in a severe caloric deficit, and saying what the byproducts of that were for them. hair
Mm.
hair falling out,
Hair loss, yeah. Hmm.
their skin being terrible, their sleep patterns being a complete disaster. Then their kind of, I learned better video of them, plus 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And the difference in their health byproducts of, how they're reporting their hair looks, their skin looks, their nails, their sleep patterns, all of it is listen, health isn't a body fat percentage. It's not a weight. It's never been. And anybody who has reached really low body fat percentage goals, or really low, has been at a really low weight, I can think of for myself, when people say constantly, oh, I want to be at my high school weight, whatever. I think of what I was eating in high school and what my general health markers would have been for the fact that I had a bag of Doritos and 3 cookies for lunch every single day of school. That's what I ate. And I think of my energy, my health, the it was 115 pounds, but I wasn't healthy.
Mm-mm.
So what does it matter? So, that's a really important thing, is when people start talking about, gaining muscle or eating in a surplus, it sends up red flags of oh my God, but what will that look like on you? Healthy will look like on you what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And the aesthetic is going to be a byproduct of your health. And I think when everybody sits with that and is comfortable with that, that like being at a low body fat percentage and having your hair fall out isn't actually the goal. Like,
God, yeah. Like let's just like bust that up for a second because I get it. So people want to have some aesthetic goals and they want to they have this idea, but if we can just stop for a second and get realistic about what we want our life to look like overall, how we want to feel, how we want to enjoy life, how we want to gain this whole thing and how we want to spend our time here, like it's going to be really important to put your health first and realize that like the thing that comes after that is so much better than anything else that could happen on the scale or that could happen at a body fat percentage. It's just going to be so much more important. And I just want to say too, like, we're talking about gaining muscle and we're talking about eating for gains and how important that is and how important that mindset is and just like not being afraid to eat for gains. God, I know. It can sound so scary. It like for some people it can sound really scary and just can feel, off center because it's like, well, I was told to eat for losses for my entire life, and then how am I supposed to really redefine this? It can definitely be scary. But there's also I also just want to say there is a big genetic component to how much muscle you have the ability to gain, especially over a period of time. And that it's a very important one. I've learned this the hard way for many, many years, and it can be a very frustrating one. And that this goes for just any one of your goals, really, because we have this idea of what we want in our minds, and we're like, oh, well, why is my genetics working against me? Like I made a funny video about it one time where like it just like swapped to like me trying to stand up from a clean and my genetics being like, mm. No, no, no. But
not you, girl. You're not the
not you,
one.
girl. But the thing about eating for gains and any type of healthy lifestyle is that when you are eating for muscle growth, you have to realize that growth in any form forever is a slow process. When you're talking about growth mentally in your life, really making those changes that are sustainable and that are really full of depth and importance, they take a long time. And the same thing goes with your muscles. Like you don't just say like I'm eating for gains and then you gain 10 pounds of muscle. Like that's just not true. And as you see your weight fluctuate on the scale, which you should just throw out because it's completely irrelevant, you're not gaining and losing muscle over weeks, months even. I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, but a woman that is training at a very high, to gain muscle has the ability to gain about 2 pounds of muscle per year. Okay, of muscle per year. That's not exact. So don't quote me on it. It's around there, and believe me, I've done a lot of reading on this because I'm like, well, what am I just not doing? But when you see any fluctuation from week to week, even from month to month, that you're like, well, I've gained and lost muscle. No, no, you haven't.
Water, it's blood, it's the size of your uterus, it's like a million other things
It's a
that
million
are
other
not,
things.
it's not that. It's not that. It's what's in your gut. Like if you want a reason to throw the scale out, we have several episodes on why weighing yourself is like not a good way to track your actual body composition.
Or your
Um,
muscle growth.
or
It's
your
just
muscle.
it's not a great way to track it at all.
But like, I'm really glad that you said about, that it's a long game because first of all, it's hard to hear, but you got to hear it. And secondly, the thing about those kinds of growths where you're saying like, I'm trying to grow as a person, I'm trying to grow my muscles, I'm trying to grow in this area of my life, like they are a long game, but they're always worth it.
Mm.
They're always worth it every time. Any attempt to have growth in your life is going to be worth it. And muscle growth is, I can't even tell you. I'll just say from my personal experience. Okay. I started weightlifting fairly late with regards to like where the girls are doing it now. I mean, like I didn't lift throughout high school. That was never pushed, even though I was like in tons of athletics. And I didn't even really lift in college. I mean, we had like one day of strength training, but it was along with plyo stuff. So it was like not even like weight specific. I didn't start like lifting until I was like in my mid 20s. And let me tell you, I gained so much muscle at that time that since then, working out has taken a very backseat in my life. This is not the season where it's first. And I work out pretty infrequently as far as like, getting in a full training session or like getting in more than just like, well, I got dumbbells in my car or whatever. I'm not training at a high level anymore. But it is so amazing how easy it is to maintain my body fat percentage because of the muscle that I built up over all those years of training, like, 10 years of like lifting heavy. I have perpetual gains from that, which is now I'm not feeding that as much. I'm not lifting as heavy. I'm not building that muscle, but it's still intact to the point where it's supporting me to be pain free. It's keeping my metabolism at a place where I'm not gaining weight very easily, despite the fact that I've lowered my activity level. It's just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So it's worth the work is what I mean. Like it was a long game for me. I did that for 10 years and then I'm very much missing it now and I know it will be back, but I just want to say like, mom, same thing. She's had to lower her training a schedule a little bit. She's trying to get in more walks and stuff, but she still sees all the benefits of her muscles in her metabolism because of all of those years of strength training. So
Yeah. That's a really important point, and one I want to highlight with when it goes to fueling alongside of that, if you've had something that you have really worked hard to build to be that concrete, to be really like solid building blocks over a period of something like 10 years, you also along the way have been able to adjust how you are fueling based on your activity level, and you're not married to these like, well, I have to get in this much and this much and this much. It's just kind of like, okay, well, my activity level has decreased, and then naturally, my consumption along with my energy that I needed has also decreased around those times, or has changed, or I've had different cravings. Like, it's really important to not only notice how these changes affect or can be sustained from a physical standpoint with your workouts, but how you've been able to maintain, fueling your body along with that, and how it really does change. It changes when you're like, oh, okay, I know I need a little bit more of this, but that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in months. It doesn't even happen, in a year. It's one of those things that just like it really is part of the long game. And nobody wants to hear that, but I want it's just like I gotta drill in that it's so worth it. So like, when is the ideal time to eat protein? Because that is one of the questions that I get asked all the time. And so here's the thing. You should have protein throughout your day in every meal. And that's just one of the things that like everyone wants to look at your specific workout. How much protein should I have before my workout, after my workout? Like, is it the most important? The most important thing is that this is from me. The most important thing is that you are having consistent protein throughout your day.
it's just
Okay.
like everything else. It's just like everything else. One hard workout every week compared to four lower intensity workouts. Like
Mhm.
it's always gonna be about consistency. You're not gonna just jam a bunch of protein in right pre or post workout and go like, all right, got my nutrition in for the day. Like it's about consistency. That is the key.
Yeah. And having, a protein before that is, a little bit of a slower digestive protein, throughout your day is really important. And then a quicker one afterwards is always, ideal because your body is looking for that. It's really, if you finished a hard workout, that you have this like, you hit this like really hungry state. It doesn't happen right when you finish. It's just like, oh, it's a little bit. Sometimes actually it happens like mid training session for me. Definitely not mid conditioning, but like mid training session, I'm like, oh, I gotta have a snack. And I always give myself a snack. It's in some of my videos. You'll see me walking by Isley's camera, just like eating things. But like, I'm also looking to grow my muscles. I'm looking to, fuel for gains. So, a lot of people ask, like, what do those protein sources look like? Those protein sources can look very different for everyone. And this is going to be based on your personal preference. Do I think there is a superior protein to other proteins? Not really. Honestly, like, what I would say to you guys is that, you want to make sure that you are getting the majority of your protein sources from food. I would not say that you would look for your main protein source from a shake. Can you supplement a shake in there if you don't have the ability to meet your protein needs throughout the day? Yes, absolutely you can. So the idea behind that is that like you can supplement, what you aren't getting. Or if you're like, okay, I have a long drive after, my workout, or I want a quick absorbent protein, then you can use supplements for that kind of a thing. But it really shouldn't, as we start to talk about protein and sustainable changes, that's just not the number one thing on your list. As you start to dial back and you start to dial things in, we can talk about that. The thing that we just want to like drill home with protein sources that are from, a supplement is that you want to look at what else is in there. Like, exclamation point, because if you're taking in a ton of other things, if you're taking in a ton of added sugars, like things that you just don't want in your body, like, are we doing what we're trying to do? Are we adding what we are looking to add to our diet overall if we are adding just like a ton of fake sugars?
I mean,
And,
it's
and
so
shit protein.
it's
Like, I
so
gotta say, there's a lot of
yeah.
supplement companies out there that just are giving, not good protein sources, and they're just running rampant.
They're running rampant. The supplement industry is just not regulated to a place where like I feel comfortable, going hard on any one supplement. It's a weird thing because we talk about the importance of protein, but we also talk about the importance of making a system that fits in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of people, the idea of, having the planning in place to get enough protein in during the day and to get a slower digesting protein before a workout and a fast digesting protein after a workout. Like sometimes it's like this is overwhelming, and I want to do something that I feel like I can do day in and day out, right? Because
That
again,
you
it's
can
about
count on.
consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So it's a weird thing because we love convenience, right? And supplements, protein shakes make things more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that we're not trying to take in protein at the expense of other things, right? So like the artificial sweeteners are a problem for me in the protein space. The artificial sweeteners they just, for me, outweigh some of the benefits of taking in a protein because they kind of create those and promote those cravings for, birthday cake and whatever. And we also have seen tons of studies about artificial sugars and what they do to your body long term. So, I mean, it's not my favorite, right? But There are a lot of, and also a lot of people are lactose intolerant. So like they're looking at whey proteins and being like, okay, I could do that, but I'm going to shit my pants. So I mean, is that worth getting the protein in? And I know that's a protein problem for a lot of people because like so much, the slow digesting proteins come from dairy, and people are like, dude, I can't do dairy. If you want to be around me, I don't want me near dairy. So the good thing about protein blowing up as like a huge macro and that it's very sought after is that there are a lot of choices now, and I think that you can make a good shake choice if you are careful. I also think you can make a dairy-free good shake choice. I personally have taken pea protein. I know it's not for everybody, but I loved it. It was unflavored, which what like a lot of people are like, okay, gag, but understand you're not, the purpose of taking a protein shake isn't to fulfill like a craving for sweets. Like that's not that's not the purpose of it, right? It's to actually get protein into your body. And we don't really want, if you have a craving for sweets, just have some sweets. Like, you know what I mean?
But you could also just put a pineapple in there and,
That's what
or
I
like,
did.
yeah, it's like there are some nice
Pineapple,
fruits that you can add to things that you're just like, oh, that just changed that all up for me.
that was my post workout, was pea protein that was unflavored, and then I just added a bunch of like delicious like fresh fruit to it in a blender, and I loved it. I know that obviously the just shaky is a little bit more convenient than the blender.
Again, convenience.
I know, but you know what? Now they have that blend jet. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
It's like
you
a
can take it
portable.
like with you.
That's what like game changer, game changer,
Yeah,
and I loved it.
I think that like you guys are lucky because you get the two ends of the spectrum here where like I think Rachel definitely will put more effort into getting something that she likes, and like she'll like she has like a nice coffee machine, right? There's like a frother and stuff. Like I'm not going to do that. I'm
Yeah, but
just
your coffee tastes like your shit.
I'm just not going to do that. Like I used to just like think of myself as being like why can't I just do these things? Like everyone is enjoying these like nice little perks in life that like I'm just not enjoying. Like every time I went to my mom's house, she would make a smoothie for me, and like she'd put all these things in it, and I'm like she's dirtying so many dishes right now. I'm glad I don't have to do those dishes. Like I don't want the mess. I would never make one of those, not at my house, not even on my most energized day. I'm just not going to do it because there's a lot of effort that goes into that. And I'm just moving on. Like I'm just like out the door. I'd rather like just do other things. So I think you guys like
Well, give them an option for,
that's what I'm saying. Like you guys are
yeah.
getting a good like two ends of the spectrum where if like you could bring the plug-in thing and stuff, but also you could just be like, I'm gonna put this in there, I'm gonna add water to it, and I'm just gonna move along with my day. Like sometimes my protein source, like I'm famous for having chicken in a bag, but I also do turkey meat. So I really branch out, but that's just like emergency, me and my emergency proteins. This is how serious I think protein is. It's an emergency. like, but I'll just put it in a bag, and it really doesn't have to be complicated. One of the things that I just want to like make sure as we're putting out there is that like if you can take anything from this episode, number 1, you should be eating for gains. And like define that in your mind like however, but the idea is not that we are going to get the smallest possible at any expense, is that we want to live a life that we can maintain, some type of muscle mass, and that we are eating appropriately to be able to maintain some of that muscle mass. And and most women, I would say very like across the board, most women are not eating enough protein. As you get older, you need to have more protein. Your need for protein increases, so it's not even like it's not in your mind is what, is
No.
what I'm saying. It's not in your mind. Like you're not just going around being like, well, I don't know, I think I don't know, it feels like I need to eat more. You might be getting those cravings and it's coming to you as I need to eat more, but really look at what you need to eat more? How do you feel after you eat something? What does your first meal of the day look like? And does it include a protein source?
I, I think that when we talk about eating for gains, just think of it as health gains.
Health
You're
gains.
eating for health gains, okay? That comes in the form of muscle, but that also translates to so many different areas of your life. And understand that if you are in a severe caloric deficit, you are also most likely in a severe nutrient deficit. And that has prices to pay.
Yeah.
And the fact is if your muscles cannot get enough of a food source to sustain themselves, they will take from something, or your body does not
Mhm.
have enough places to draw nutrients from. It will take from something, and the thing
Yes.
will be your muscles. And when we are working out hard in the gym and then not eating enough, and our body is stealing our gains right from under us,
Right from under us. Yeah.
that is the biggest tragedy that I see in women's health today, is
Yeah.
women training hard, working out to be healthier, and then not eating enough and not seeing the fruits of their labor because their body is stealing from their muscles to just subsist.
I know that I get really passionate about this topic because like I wish someone had told me. I wish they had just like shaken me, for many years and said like you're working against yourself right now. Like all that you're doing because like many women, I went to the gym and I worked really hard for hours and then I would eat the least amount of possible because what I was looking for was, some aesthetic that was just not it, and it was just this, race to the bottom. And that's how I lived my life though. Because like these are choices we're making on a daily basis. And if we think the choices that we're making on the daily basis with our body and how we treat our body and how we talk to ourselves aren't affecting the rest of our lives and how affecting how we live our lives, like that's crazy. It absolutely is. This is the body, this is the vessel that you live this life in, and how you treat it and how you have this overall picture of how you're going to treat it is going to translate into the rest of your life.
So, eat for gains, eat some protein. Stop what you're doing right now.
So,
Go
drink
have
some water.
Go have some water. Oh, another important, extremely important building block of muscle, output and endurance and ability is the fact
Listen,
that
your
you must be
muscle
hydrated.
is either a grape or a raisin, okay? And the difference between those is water.
So go have a big glass of water. Go get some nut butter, protein source. Have some chicken in a bag. Do whatever
Eggs.
works for you.
Get your eggs.
Eggs. I love eggs. But you know what? Think about the way that you're eating as gaining your health back. And that mentality really will guide you better than any diet ever could.